ZeniMax Bethesda, 7.5 billion.
Sold.
Bungie, anyone want Bungie?
3.6. Sold.
Activision,
68.7 billion.
sold.
That is so much money.
But these companies have billions, and these could be the next big purchases in the video game world.
So let's start with PlayStation.
I think PlayStation's next major move is purchasing two companies. Number one is Square Enix. Look at the history between these companies. The Final Fantasy series, which used to be synonymous with PlayStation alone, now add their ability to create amazing RPGs, and it really fits the PlayStation model, which would bring them to their next purchase, which is going to be Ubisoft. And that's a big move, around $7 billion. Prince of Persia, Far Cry, and of course the Assassin's Creed games. PlayStation could be the only company that really revitalizes these franchises. I mean, look what they did with God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, and Horizon Forbidden West. They're just so good at making narrative games absolutely amazing. It would also give them Splinter Cell, and PlayStation is really lacking when it comes to the shooter category. They would also get Rayman, which is really cool, which would really bolster their cartoon platformer series. Now on the topic of cartoon style games, where does that leave Nintendo? Because they haven't bought anything in a while. The obvious answer is they should buy Sega, but I just don't think that's gonna happen. Don't worry, I've got a buyer for Sega, but it is not who you would expect. So stay tuned for that. So if it's not gonna be Sega, then I think Nintendo needs to swing for the fences. They should go after Capcom. I mean, they have Monster Hunter and Mega Man, which is quite fitting for the Nintendo family. But the secret sauce is gonna be some of their more mature titles. That's Street Fighter and the Resident Evil franchise. Street Fighter is one of the greatest fighting franchises of all time. The only issue I could see is they're gonna compete against themselves with their Super Smash Bros. Series. But I'm sure they can figure that out. But Resident Evil is really the golden ticket here. And don't forget, Resident Evil has done really well with Nintendo audiences. Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube was a huge success. Now to pull this off would cost them about $5 billion, but let's get real, Nintendo, they can afford it. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. What is Xbox gonna do? They officially just closed the Activision Blizzard deal, but now everyone's wondering what's the next step? Or is the better question, are they even allowed to buy any more gaming studios? I'm only asking that because the government might step in and say they have a monopoly on gaming, which is funny because Monopoly is also a game. So they might not be able to make a big deal, but maybe they can make some smaller ones. And all of those signs point to Warner Gaming Interactive. The rumors were that Microsoft were going to approach Warner Brothers before they talked to Activision. However, that doesn't mean that the Warner Brothers deal is off the table. Warner Brothers is still shopping around their games division, and Microsoft makes a ton of sense. They'd get the Harry Potter games, the Batman games, but really it's in the details, and that's with NetherRealm. Now, NetherRealm owns Mortal Kombat, but not just the rights to the games, they own the entire thing. So that means Xbox owns everything, including the movies, comic books, and even all the Halloween costume sales. Not to mention that they don't really have a flagship fighting series in their lineup. Now, in the grand scope of Microsoft, it's actually relatively cheap, between $4 and $5 billion, which, let's get real, is just chump change. Now earlier we did talk about Sega, and it's been on the rumor mill for years that someone's gonna buy them, but not from someone you would expect. And the one company that I think can take them there is none other than Disney. They are an entertainment company, and if they're wanting to expand their gaming division, then this makes a lot of sense. But is it really that far-fetched? I mean, the mouse has already dabbled in gaming before, and we all loved Aladdin and The Lion King on the Sega Genesis. And don't forget they own LucasArts and already give us amazing Star Wars games. With the Sonic IP alone, they would crush it in the box office, and it would give them the ability to produce amazing games. Now, if you think this is way too crazy and out there, then I would suggest watching another one of my videos, like building the ultimate Mario Kart circuit in my living room, or watching people rage online. Because the final acquisition that I'm proposing is gonna blow your mind. And that's who's gonna buy EA.
It's in the game.
Who could afford to spend around $38 billion to purchase EA? Now my next thought was Facebook, because they could absolutely afford it, and they spent about $2 billion on Oculus back in 2014. But I'm convinced that's to do more with their metaverse idea instead of gaming. So I'm gonna look to the stars when it comes to someone to buy EA. And that person is Elon Musk. Now before you laugh me out of the room, I do have some evidence to support my theory. Number one, he has no problem spending a lot of money on companies that he actually likes. And yes, there are interviews saying that he does like video games.
Overwatch is amazing, yeah.
But on a grander scale, if there's anyone who's able to crack the code when it comes to cloud and stream gaming services, I think it's gonna be him. Obviously, Microsoft is leading the charge when it comes to cloud gaming, but Elon has something that they don't, and that's Starlink. Elon's internet company is gonna give us the bandwidth and internet speeds to actually pull off cloud gaming properly. And let's not forget the fact that Elon's competitive, and he doesn't seem to be a big fan of Bill Gates. Yeah, it's a bit out there, but hey, it could be cool and you never know. But all these purchases mean nothing unless they really get down to the problem of gaming currently. And that's making good quality games. Which is why I made this video right here, which you absolutely have to check out. Because if games are trash, then what's the point?